Okay, I'm back. Aloha, I'm Devlin Hakias. I am the host of Healing with Aloha. I'm located in Kauai, on one of the oldest Hawaiian islands. I'm just gonna wait here just a second for my friend. I was just on live, and I guess the volume, you couldn't hear the volume. And so Erica was letting me know that the volume was down. And so I just wanted to talk about the grief journey. The reason why I created this podcast, just to give you a background, is healing with Aloha is about. Oh, you can hear me now? Okay. My phone is not charged that good, so I'm not going to be here that long. Sorry. Okay. So basically, I the podcast was dedicated in memory of my sister. She was 23 years old, and she was in an accident, and unfortunately she died the same day, like within moments of after the accident. And so my journey with grief began back in 2001. And so because of the difficulty that I went through, just not knowing how to deal with it, the loss, and just there wasn't like a support group back then for me. That, well, then again, I didn't know where to look for a support group, and I was so fearful of moving forward, like in my life, because as an older sister, my sister was 23, I was 26, and when she passed away, you just feel I felt this heavy responsibility that I did growing up. It's like your job is to watch over your sister or your younger sibling. And so when I went through really dark times in my grieving, to the point where I got depressed, and I'm fortunate that I was able to get help spiritually, and I did go through therapy, because prior to my sister dying, I went through a lot of trauma. And so when she died, it was just adding on to what was already there. And so in so she died 2001, 2006. 3 months before I gave birth, I went to I was suggested to go to see a psychologist because of my past, and I got diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder. And that's just another topic I can talk about. And so I learned tools to deal with my past, and just to deal with losing my sister, the grieving. And when you go through something really traumatic, really difficult, I don't know, I always kind of view it as like you're in this tunnel, and you want to get to the end of the tunnel. In life, you go through lessons, you go through relationships, you go through experiences, and sometimes you just want it to be done. Like, you just want to get to the other side. Like, whatever the challenge is in your life, you just want to get through it. Well, so when my sister died, I just felt immense pain in my heart. And I just wanted to know, how do you deal with this pain? Because it's a heavy burden. It's a heaviness, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, psychologically. And so when I hit the 17-year mark, which was last year, right before her anniversary, I felt that I was sitting on the idea of doing a podcast for almost 3 years. But I had my own insecurities and my own fears about doing a podcast. I've been speaking since 1994 for churches, nonprofit organizations, and in schools. in Hawaii between three islands. And I wanted to do the podcast because I felt that, some people, I may never cross paths with them physically, but in a podcast, I'd be able to touch someone. The goal was to just touch one person's life that was dealing with grief, and they just needed a lifeline, someone to relate to them, and understand their pain and offer hope. Hi, Auntie. So, the journey through grief, it's something that we all, if we're not on our journey in grieving for family members or loved ones, like friends, it's gonna come because we are gonna die, and people we care about is gonna die. And so if we can learn to process our grief in dealing with our sadness, in dealing with just everything, the guilt and the denial, and in so much more, then as we get older, as things happen and people we love moves from this life to the next, we can learn to be more prepared to transition our lives, because it's change. When someone we love dies, we have to change our lifestyle, our lives, and how we engage with people. And every time someone you love passes away, it's going to be different in how you grieve about that person. And so I didn't really understand, but they're always with us in spirit. It's just you're not able to physically touch them, engage with them, but they're always with you. And so when I'm talking to someone who has just lost a loved one, who's passing from this life to the next, I just tell them to, it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to cry. It's okay if you just need alone time. For friends that I've made on social media, it's okay to not post on social media, to not go on social media. It's okay just to reflect on your life. There's no pressure. There is no comparison. You're how you grieve and someone else. Some people cry. Some people don't. Some people can do a blog or go on social media, start an Instagram or Facebook, and share their feelings raw. Whereas some people, they're more conservative. They don't. I went through a grief support group later on after my dad died in 2012, and that helped me. And so whatever you need to go through it, that's what matters. And so one of the main things I wanted to talk about today is 3 tips for self-care. The reason why we have to talk about self-care in our grief journey is sometimes when we're so overwhelmed with sadness and our hearts are just hurting because we just missed them and we didn't feel we had enough time, or maybe we didn't get to say I love you, or we just want them back. Just because when you have someone you just absolutely love and they love you back and they accept you, who would want them to not be here, right? And so we forget to take a shower, brush our teeth, eat our meals, stay hydrated, go outside, and go just get out in nature. We don't socialize, and so it's important to practice self-care because your health is your responsibility and nobody can monitor that part of you. And so if you can make sure that you are practicing self-care, such as making sure you're taking care of your hygiene and brushing your teeth and taking a shower, when you just don't feel like it, it gets too, it's tiring. Like when you're carrying grief, it's tiring, it's exhausting. However, even if you commit to yourself, like, okay, by 5 o'clock in the afternoon, 6 o'clock, I'm gonna go, and even if it's just like, okay, a quick shower, set that commitment to yourself so that you'll show up for yourself. Because even though you don't feel like doing it, after you take that shower, which by the way is a good place to cry, if you're raising a family, and I had my son, I felt like crying in the shower was such a great place because you're already in the shower, and so when you're crying, it just all flows together, and then you just go about your day. So it you won't feel like you want to do it, but it's good for you to to do it. The other thing for self-care is actually finding something that makes you happy, something that you enjoy doing or you used to do, that you can start doing again. For example, listening to music. Growing up, it was an escape. It made me happy. I dance, I sing, and just it's good. And so, because sometimes when you're grieving, you don't want to feel the pain, it's good to listen to music that allows you to release the emotions, the feelings, whether it's sadness, it's anger, it's happiness, or whatever is the whole gamut of yours. Believe it or not, like when you lean in to your feelings and your emotions, and you like, it's like a floodgate. Like when you remove the gates and you just let it flow, then it opens you up to feel the opposite of what you're feeling. So like when I cry and release my sadness, and this is for music, okay guys, when I listen to certain songs, like it allows me to cry. Then when I hear the songs that are opposite of it, I'm able to have pockets of joy, pockets of happiness. I'm able to laugh. But it's like a pendulum, like you swing one way and you swing the other way. And so it's important for you to find something, your artistic side, go do a hobby, get into a hobby, like go to the beach, journal, stuff like that. And then the last thing is, for self-care is taking the time to let at least one person know how you're doing in your grief journey, because it just doesn't make you don't feel so alone. When we're grieving, we feel so isolated, like we're the only one. But in actuality, there's a lot of people that are hurting and that are missing someone too. And if you let them know this is where you're at, then it allows them to say me too. Like, I feel that way. I miss my mom. I miss my dad, or my brother, or my sister. I've I've joined groups on Facebook, like private groups, uh, to connect myself to people like me who are grieving, or people who've gone through challenges in life. And so maybe find one friend, or you know somebody who shares the same fate as you. You can share Bible scriptures, or like if you are on Instagram, that's where I'm mostly at more than Facebook. I look up hashtags, grief and loss support, or missing someone. And that helps me because I find people who are at different stages in their grief, and I'm able to listen, like not listen, read what they share, or sometimes listen, because sometimes people will do videos on Instagram, and then I'm able to reply like how I'm doing, and then they're able to reply back. And so with the podcast, a lot of the special guests that I have, they're from all over. They're not just in Hawaii. They're from like California, from my friends from North Carolina, and also I had someone from Australia. I found them through Instagram and Facebook, just chatting with them, and realizing that they have their own journey through grief, or maybe they're therapists and they serve people with trauma. And so I bring them on board. What I want you to realize is that you are amazing, and that you hold space in this world for a very special reason. And the person that you love, that loves you, is still loving you in spirit, and wants you to be happy, and wants you to really carry on their legacy. That is the one thing that has helped me with my sister, with my dad, my grandparents, is just carrying on their legacy. So when I do an episode on a podcast, when I go live, I feel I'm helping someone else and showing them love, and allowing them to get to know me and to get to know my family. And then I get to know them, and that isolation or feeling all alone becomes so much smaller, because they feel included, being able to connect with another person who can have compassion and empathy for what they're going through. And so those are my tips for self-care. Do you guys have any questions? Erica, do you have any questions? So I go live on Instagram, Healing with Aloha, every Fridays. It's a new time at 8 o'clock Hawaii time, HST, which is, let me see, gosh, 11 o'clock PST time zone. And then it is, 2 o'clock for those on the East Coast in the US. So if you guys have any topics you want me to talk about, you can send me a DM. Follow the podcast, Healing with Aloha, on Spotify and Anchor.fm. Like I said, we are on 8 different platforms. And if you're interested in being a special guest, you can send me a DM to ask questions if that's something you're interested in, and see if it's something that it's relatable because we talk about grief and loss support, mental health, self-care, and healing. Our website is www.healingwithAlohapodcast.com, and I'm Deslin Hagias. And so it's a pleasure to come on today, and I hope you guys have a beautiful and wonderful day. Aloha.